Dear faithful communicators, one of my communication habits, I think it's a good habit, is to smile at others. I love to smile at other people. Walking down the sidewalk, offering a smile at that little time when people are willing to look at each other in the eye as you pass. Or driving down the street, suddenly at your stoplight and there's a car next to you and I look over and smile at the driver. Do you know what happens when you smile at someone? They smile back. Most of the time, they smile back. Do you know how much communication is all about imitation? It really is. There's a great term that one Catholic theologian uses to talk about this. It's called mimetic desire. Mimetic, as in mime, desire. We have a desire down deep, all of us do, to imitate somebody else. And it starts when we're so young, as little kids. In fact, it starts when we're infants. We know from the research that infants that are breastfeeding are beginning to look at their mother's face and imitate that face, even though they can't read what the meaning of the facial features are, because they don't have the social skills, the social conventions, the social knowledge yet. They start imitating. And that distance of the nursing child's face to the mother's face is about perfect for when the eyes first start focusing on that face. Amazing. And so children grow up right away starting to imitate their parents. And they go through life imitating parents, later perhaps imitating peer groups. Now for parents, this is somewhat a difficult thing because you realize that even though you tell your children that they should be a certain way or do a certain thing, it's more likely they will simply imitate you. Our unintentional communication seems to shape what their intentional communication becomes. As I say, for a parent, this is often something that gives us a lot of grief because we don't want our children simply to pick up the habits that we have. Now, this is true for all human communication, not just within the family, not just between parents and children. We imitate. We're creatures of mimetic desire. But we are called to make our communication more intentional. Following Christ means, in part, not just to reflect unintentionally through imitation of others, but to put our imitation through our hearts and our minds to determine, to discern whether or not the way that we're communicating and what we're communicating is right. So we make the unintentional intentional. The easiest way to get into this is by choosing our friends wisely, because the people that we spend most time with are those that will have the most influence on us and the ones that we will be learning from in terms of how to turn the unintentional into the intentional. And let's call the people who do this the best, the ones that really are the most saintly. Let's just call them the saints among us. The saints of old, the saints among us. The faithful followers of Jesus Christ who try to live out their communication rightly, intentionally. All believers are able to do this somewhat because of the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. Where these fruit are evident, the communication is more imitative of God, of Jesus Christ. One of the best-selling books of all time in the Christian faith was The Imitation of Christ. Check it out and you'll see why. So, through this gift of communication, the outer, what's outside of us, reflects what's going on inside of us, and what's going on inside of us is reflected in the communication that comes out of us. And what we are called to do is to be more saintly and to surround ourselves with saints so that our inner and our outer are more in tune and we're more faithful communicators, living out the fruit of the Spirit in our communication. Augustine once said that a Christian should live out their faith from head to toe in all they do. Shalom.